Welcome to Agenda Edina, a program summarizing the actions taken at City Hall that affect you most. I'm your host, Dorothea Marty. Supporting a major private investment in the Southdale District, the city has established a new tax increment financing district to foster the redevelopment of the 6-acre U.S. Bank site at 70th and France. Orion Investments and Mortensen Development plan to demolish the two commercial buildings at 7001 and 7025 France Avenue and transform the site with 4 new structures. The new buildings will include a new banking facility for U.S. Bank, a 267-unit apartment building with structured parking and retail space, 200,000 square foot office building with street-level retail tenants, public plaza and underground parking, and a multi-level parking ramp with bicycle commuter facilities. Each of these new buildings will be arranged around a new street grid that subdivides the large property into 4 smaller parcels. The office building would be the first Class A office building constructed in Edina in more than 20 years. The project will be delivered in phases over 5 years and is estimated to cost more than $250 million. Advisors to the city have confirmed that the overall project has a financing gap of $22 million. The city's financial and legal advisors determined that tax increment financing is needed to move the project forward. The new 15-year TIF district creates the financial mechanism to provide future reimbursement to the developer after they have completed work that satisfies public benefit expectations with each phase of the work. As with other TIF districts in Edina, the developer is required to secure private debt and equity to build each phase of the project and must bear all financial risk. Reimbursement would only come from new property taxes generated from the site.
One of the most exciting things about this project is the fact that we can completely transform the site and do it in a way that continues the legacy that's been in this greater Southdale district for generations. It's always been a destination for commerce and for employment. Right now it's 2 buildings and a giant surface parking lot. We can change that to be multiple buildings arranged in a way where you can walk from one building to the next, to the next. You could walk across the street without having to get back in your car, jump on France Avenue, and do the same stop that you could do by walking.
Work on the project is expected to begin this spring. To increase the pollinator habitat during a critical seasonal transition, the city will temporarily suspend laws requiring residents to mow in May. The goal of Mow May is to allow grass to grow unmown for the month of May, creating habitat and forage for early season pollinators. This is particularly important in urban areas where floral resources are often limited. In 2020, residents of Appleton, Wisconsin became energized about Mow May. 435 registered property owners participated in the campaign, and Lawrence University partnered with Appleton to conduct research on the impact of Mow May on pollinators. Researchers collected data on the number of individuals and the number of species of flowers and bees found in unmown yards of a subset of the participating properties. They then compared those numbers to the abundance and richness of flowers and bees in nearby urban parks that are regularly mowed. The findings were impressive. Not only were the abundance and richness of pollinators higher in the yards of properties participating in Mow May, but they were significantly higher. Participating yards had 3 times higher bee species richness and 5 times higher pollinator abundance than nearby parks that had been mowed. Edina hopes to have the same or better results.
We have all sorts of pollinators in Edina, right? We have bees, we have butterflies, hummingbirds, wasps, some that are more pleasant than others. Many of those spend time away from Minnesota or they hibernate in Minnesota over winter. When they return early spring, I know we've started all to see hopefully some of those bees especially. There's not a lot of food. And they have generally been, especially our bees who hibernate, have not been eating over winter. And so they're hungry, they're looking for shelter for their young. And this Mow May gives us an opportunity to provide both food and shelter during this really critical transition time from winter to spring and summer.
The Parks and Recreation Department will set up an online registration form for residents who want to participate in the program. Participants will be given lawn signs to display during May, and the city's weed ordinance will not be enforced during May on those properties. Full enforcement will return June 15th. There are some exciting new programs and exhibits coming to the Edina Historical Society, mostly driven by the new executive director who came on board last fall. Here's a chance to meet this new community leader and learn about some of the new programs she's introducing.
Edina's history has more breadth than many people may realize. In fact,
the local history of Edina, which goes way back, especially with Native American populations in Minnesota, but also goes back especially to the pioneer days as well.
Fortunately, a group of Edinans realized back in the late 1960s that much of the local history was disappearing as subdivisions supplanted farms and small villages.
And so the Edina Historical Society began in 1969 to begin collecting and preserving objects and documents, records, photographs, and things like that.
The nonprofit Edina Historical Society has a museum and offices at Arneson Acres Park. Surprisingly, this nondescript blue building is a treasure trove for Edina residents seeking to learn about the city's past.
We'll chat again soon, though.
And one of the more recently acquired treasures is the new director, Molly McIntosh.
I began working just as a historic guide at the state capitol something like 6 or 7 years ago when I was just fresh in college.
Wait, freshman? 6 or 7 years ago? Don't let that fool you. In just those few years, she's earned both bachelor's and master's degrees in history with certifications in museum studies. And her resume includes some of Minnesota's most prestigious institutions.
But I kind of solidified here in Edina because it gave me a wonderful opportunity to combine my love of art and history in a way where we can utilize this amazing collection to kind of bring together a lot of elements of, historic research and presentation with the museum.
It is an amazing collection. The permanent display covers overall Edina history and takes into account the contributions by pioneering women and African Americans. While across the hall, this year's annual exhibit is The Art and Creativity of Edina's Bill Mansky. It's a personal look at a resident artist.
But it's those connections to specific individuals that kind of connects you to the era and to the mindset. And so that's why it's very fun to kind of have these focal points on specific individuals, individual neighborhoods, and kind of you learn a little bit more that way.
Molly has a huge task ahead because
while COVID closed everything down, now the board is really motivated to reopen in a way where they're really excited and really pushing for new initiatives and new programming. And I think that's why they wanted someone like me. I'm a little bit younger, I'm pretty fresh, but at the same time I have a lot of great ideas.
Some of the new program ideas include neighborhood walking tours, a traditional Sunday tea, and summer school for grade and middle schoolers. But possibly Molly's favorite initiative is the History Careers Program for high schoolers,
which is a program for students in the summer to visit museums and talk to professionals about careers in museums and in history. And so these are just some of the early initiatives that we've been working on to kind of provide really diverse programming for literally all ages.
Edina does indeed have a wonderful history.
Pieces from the original mill
that has a strong future thanks to someone with new ideas,
which provided a lot of food for the surrounding area.
For Edina TV, I'm Tom Cornell.
To learn more about the Edina Historical Society, visit edinahistoricalsociety.org. There you can see upcoming events, how you can get involved, and where to make a donation. Thank you for watching this episode of Agenda Edina. I'm your host, Dorothea Marty.